Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Southfield City Council, November 27th at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Council President. Council President Mandelbaum.
Present.
Council Pro Tem Banks.
Present.
Council Member Brightwell.
Here.
Council Member Cruz.
Present.
Council Member Hicks.
Present.
Council Member Hogue.
Here.
And Councilwoman Taylor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will begin with our communications for this evening. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. We just ask that you remember our rules for public comment, that no speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which they perform his or her duties. Our first speaker is Stacy Jackson.
Good evening. Stacy Jackson, Southfield resident. I'm here today primarily to discuss the outcome of Props 1 and 2. And while the people spoke and defeated those proposals, it does little for the sting of why it was even on the ballot in the first place. I'm concerned that our existing council, those with a shared history of African Americans, seemed disengaged to the true optics of what that felt like for that community. I also feel that the council who do not share that cultural background seem too disconnected. The fact that there was an outcry and an outpouring of residents of that culture that said this is wrong from the underbelly of it, and to be told that those words were offensive, or be heard, or told rather, that the correlation of voter suppression was resented. Please know that my comments about that were not race baiting, they were not gaslighting, they had nothing to do with the race card. The inability to vote for African Americans in this country were historic truths. The fact that this council did not take that into consideration, or the legislative body that even put it on the ballot in the first place, was a cut that was deep for that community. Mind you, a community that takes up more than 60% of this city's population. Seniors, those who lived through that tragedy. And for this city's administration to say that that decision to put it on the ballot was business, I need not remind this council that the enslavement of my people was once this nation's business. The inability to vote was once this nation's business. Policing unfairly was once this nation's business. Being denied the right for housing was once this nation's business. Disenfranchisement of education was once this nation's business. So when the people came to you and outcried saying that this was wrong culturally, that it would cut the legs and the breath from your residents, the fact that no one pulled this from the ballot shows that there is a huge disengagement from the council that's here, and for those who don't share that cultural background, a severe disconnection. So my point in question is tonight is, what is this council prepared to do to restore that public trust?
The next speaker is Keith Harris.
today. I want to piggyback off of what Stacy said. I think you guys owe the residents of Southfield an apology. You know, I wrote some papers, and I know when my papers get written, they sting. And I was told that I owed a council person here an apology. I don't apologize for fighting for what's right. You know, I looked at my mother today, and my mother's from the South. My mother's almost 90. And when I told my mother what was going on, my mother, you know, praised the fact that I stood up and fought. You know, I'm just completely against wrong, period. When anything in this city is going wrong, you know, Southfield is such a beautiful city to live in. One of the diverse, at least my community, I know my community is. And when you guys did that, Stacy will tell you, I stayed up all night. It was stressful. And when I met other women, like as old as my mother in this city, who you put this kind of stress upon, yes, I think highly of every one of you. I really do. And I think as much as I think of you, you should really, really issue an apology. The vote spoke for itself. Now let's see y'all be as big as people as the voters was and say, I'm sorry. Never make this decision ever again to take the right to vote away any rights. Southfield, like I said, we got some beautiful people elected, and I know you care. I just know you care. I know you do, Mandelbaum. I know you do, Ms. Banks. You worked for this city a long time. I know the people who really love this city. You don't want that kind of racial divide in this city. So it's nothing wrong with being the bigger person when you're wrong and just say, hey, I'm sorry. I trust you guys. We got a lot of work to do, and I say let's do the work, and remember, you're here to serve, not to be served. Remember. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Greg Keeler. We'll bring one to you.
I would first like to start with welcome to our two newest members to our Administration Southfield meetings. I'm happy to see you here. I am very pleased that you both won. I have a question. I got this letter from the city of Southfield, then I got this mailer from the city of Southfield. What's happening in the city of Southfield? It said Lawrence Tech. Didn't say anything about Southfield AMT. I pay taxes for Southfield AMT. I could care less about Lawrence Tech. We have a championship football team, Division I, winners. Nothing said from here about them. But I got a bunch of things about Lawrence Tech. I can tell you everything that's going on in Lawrence Tech. It's all printed in here and what's happening. But you couldn't talk about any of the wins, any of the advancements made by our school system. Why? You were able to put a walkway from their parking lot at Lawrence Tech to their stadium. And they matched funds with you, found some grant money for them and everything else. And they said, okay, we'll clean the easements and everything else. But you can't find anything for the school system. Why? We got a championship team with a parking lot that looks like a minefield. It would be nice if y'all can find some money. Hopefully y'all can find some money as you're going down 9 Mile for in front of the schools, since you're going from 275 to 75. It would be nice, since Southfield schools do bear the name Southfield. It would have been nice if you would have told the residents that this council desire was to ask us to vote, to give y'all the rights to take away our rights to vote for our clerk and treasurer, as opposed to letting it come up at the last minute. If you'd have said something beforehand, you might not have got as much blowback. At least we would have understood. I didn't understand until Mr. Cruz explained it. And once he explained it, then it was like, oh, y'all asking us to give you the right to take it away from us. But this was never said to us. So why wasn't this said to the residents? And if you want me to say something nice about Lawrence Tech,
Your
the
time
nice
is
thing
up.
about Lawrence Tech is they dropped my property value and they gave y'all the finger for the sewer line being put on my street.
All right, next we move into appointments, and our first appointment is an appointment from our city administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I'm requesting that council appoint Nicole Humphreys to the position of purchasing agent for the city of Taylor, for the city of Southfield. Nicole was appointed to the current position as deputy city clerk in 2018. She's a results-driven manager with an excellent understanding of our organization and the procedures associated with purchasing facilities functions. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Eastern Michigan University and a doctorate degree from Western Michigan University Thomas Cooley Law School. I'm recommending that she be appointed for the position of purchasing agent effective November 27th with a base wage of $104,922 in the management comp grade 406, with eligibility for next increase upon completion of 6-month review, the same rights and benefits afforded to other management personnel.
All right, council, any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the appointment of the purchasing agent Nicole Humphreys, effective 11/27/2023, as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the appointment of the purchasing agent as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you. I would like to thank council, City Administrator Zorn, and the HR department for supporting me in these last 5 years. Thank you.
All right, and we will swear you in together with the other 2 appointments. You want to do it now?
We could
She's an employee.
Okay.
administer
so
the oath of office.
Go right ahead. Oh, yes.
I know you asked if any questions beforehand, but it's not really, it's gonna change my vote or anything. How is the purchasing agent's office structured? Is she a sole employee? Is there a team?
So I am the purchasing agent, so in a way, I'm like the manager, then there's a purchasing analyst, and then there's an assistant. So it's a total of 3 bodies right now.
So not to belabor or I would like to talk to you to learn more.
Okay.
That
That's,
area.
that's not a problem,
Thank you.
not at all.
And they work very closely with the finance director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. I will offer you the oath of office at this time. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the city charter of the city of Southfield, and that I will faithfully perform the duties in the office of purchasing agent. And in the city of Southfield, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of my ability. I do. Subscribed and sworn to before this 27th day of November, 2023. Thank you. Ms. Humphries is coming to take a picture along with you guys.
And now, Mr. Mayor, you have several appointments as well.
Yes, good evening, council. I have 3 appointments this evening. They were invited to attend. Madeline Walters is here. Come on up. I'm recommending her appointment to fill a vacancy on the library board. Also, the appointment to the Employee Retirement Board, Willie Martin. Willie. And then appointment to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, also to fill a vacancy with Moshe Sherazin. And apparently he's not here either. They were invited to attend this evening. So, council, I'm recommending the appointment. Madeline is here. She is a lifelong avid reader, moved to Southfield in part because of our phenomenal library, and did a great interview and a great application. So, and as far as Mr. Martin is concerned, we needed somebody with that retirement pension funding background. Honestly, it took me 2 years to find somebody. So we're very grateful for Mr. Martin coming forward. And then Moshe Sherazin is a Southfield property owner, working most recently on the redevelopment and retrofitting of the Sapphire Apartments, and will be a fine addition. So we now have a full with his appointment, we'll have a full Brownfield Development Authority Board. We've been struggling a little bit. These are not the glamorous boards to serve on, especially the retirement and Brownfield. So I'm very grateful that we have people that are willing to serve.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the appointment to the Southfield Library Board for Madeline Walters, the appointment to the Southfield Employee Retirement Board for Willie Martin, and the appointment to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Moshe Sherazin.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, to approve the appointment to the Southfield Library Board of Madeline Walters, the appointment to the Southfield Employee Retirement Board of Willie Martin, and the appointment to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of Moshe Sherazin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, council, and I'll ask our city clerk to swear you in. And is this your husband and if you'd like to come up and take a picture, share with the family. Okay, great. And you can stand out front.
Ms. Walters, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of this United States and the Constitution of this state and the city charter of the city of Southfield, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of the Southfield Library Board. Thank you. In the city of Southfield and state of Michigan, according to the very best of my ability, subscribed and sworn before this 27th day of November 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. What happened to Mark on SERS? Mark Jubis.
He resigned.
Oh, I like him.
He got tired of doing it.
He's a nice guy.
All right, next we have a presentation, which is a joint mayor-council resolution against acts of terrorism. And we'll have our Councilwoman Taylor read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the City of Southfield Joint Resolution condemning all acts of terrorism. Whereas on October 7th, 2023, the world was reminded once again that we must stand united against unprovoked, heinous, and barbaric attacks perpetrated against innocent civilians, and whereas Hamas, a terrorist organization designated by the United States, carried out an unprecedented, heinous, and barbaric attack on the state of Israel. And whereas Hamas terrorists invaded Israel, killing and abducting innocent civilians, including children and the elderly. And whereas American citizens were among those killed and abducted. And whereas the City of Southfield expresses grave concern at the escalation of violence and grave deterioration of the situation in the region, in particular the Gaza Strip, as well as within Israel. And whereas the City of Southfield condemns all acts of violence aimed at Israeli and Palestinian civilians, all acts of terrorism and indiscriminate attacks, as well as all acts of provocation, incitement, and destruction. And whereas the City of Southfield emphasizes that civilians must be protected in accordance with international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and deploring in this regard the heavy civilian casualties and widespread destruction of October 7th, 2023. And whereas the City of Southfield expresses a grave concern at the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip and its vast consequences for the civilian population, largely comprising of children, and the need for full, immediate, and safe, unhindered humanitarian access and aid. And whereas the City of Southfield recognizes and categorically states that the intentional targeting and killing of civilians, the raping of women and children, and the taking of civilian hostages is never justified and is never to be celebrated under any circumstances. And whereas the City of Southfield further recognizes and categorically acknowledges that Hamas does not represent all Palestinians, and that many Palestinians and other people in the Arab world have condemned this terrorist act, called for the release of hostages and seek peace with Israel. And whereas the City of Southfield expresses strong support for all regional and international efforts aimed at achieving an immediate cessation of hostilities, ensuing the protection of civilians, and providing humanitarian aid. And now therefore be it resolved that the City of Southfield condemns intentional attack on civilians, sends our condolences to the families of those murdered, conveys our wishes for a full and speedy recovery to those wounded, demands the release of the hostages, denounces anyone who celebrates atrocities perpetrated on civilians, including innocent children, implores Egypt and other countries to open its borders to allow foreign nationals, including Palestinian Americans, to leave Gaza and to provide humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians fleeing the fighting as Israel works to heal its wounded and to search and free the hostages, condemns anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and supports the right to defend oneself from acts of war and terrorism in conformity with international law. The City of Southfield calls for all parties to exercise restraint to prevent the further destabilization and escalation of violence in the region. And be it therefore resolved that copies of this resolution shall be forwarded to the President, Mr. Joseph R. Biden, our U.S. Senator, Ms. Debbie Stabenow, U.S. Senator Gary Peters, U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Attorney General Dana Nessel, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, State Senator Jeremy Moss, State Representatives Jason Hoskins, Natalie Price, and Samantha Steckloff, and Oakland County Chief Executive Dave Coulter, approved by this City of Southfield on this day, November 27th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we accept the resolution that was just read, and do we need a motion to offer it to someone?
No, just a motion. to
Just a
accept.
motion to accept it?
Yep.
Okay, that is my motion.
Support.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to accept the joint resolution condemning all acts of terrorism. Any questions from the council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Next, we move on to our consent agenda. We have several items. Does any council member wish to have any items pulled for further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for discussion purposes, and I want to apologize to my colleagues, but I want to pull item B, item D, item F, item G, and item H for clarification.
Okay. So we will start with, oh, yes.
So just make sure that I'm understanding the protocol. Now, I do have questions, so when you say pull, are you asking
For clarification or
to
anything
ask your
else?
additional question?
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, Councilman Brightwood, did you have D on your list?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Did you have D? You had
Yes.
D, E, and H?
Not
He didn't
E.
have E.
I have D, F, G, and H.
Can we add E, please?
Sure. All right, so we will start with item B, to amend our resolution for the price increase for the electric vehicles for parking enforcement. We have our code enforcement director here. So what is your question, sir?
I have a question. They indicate here, the company does not lock government pricing in for electric vehicles. That seemed to be, is that a punishment, or what? I never heard of a firm, a company, not locking in prices, and especially for a governmental body, where the money is almost guaranteed, so I don't understand this.
Well, I didn't understand it either. The city's city's acting purchasing agent reviewed the spreadsheet contract and determined pricing is subject to change until the vehicle's date of production for electric vehicles. And it is also written on the quote that pricing is subject to change. I'm not sure if it's because of the newness of electronic vehicles, but for some reason, electric vehicles are not locked in for governmental pricing.
Is that universal, or is it just for Southfield? Because it just seemed really abnormal. I'm just going to say, I'm not in purchasing, but I've been around businesses enough that when you're a large entity that can guarantee a price, and you have, I just thought, one was said, is Southfield being picked on? Is this universal for every city in the state of Michigan?
I don't think it was subject to Southfield only. It's for governmental pricing. The contract was the Michigan deal contract. Bids are available to all municipalities.
Okay. Okay, well, is this the best price out there? So this was part of the governmental purchasing entity that we have, so this is the best pricing out there?
Yes, for this vehicle, the Chevy Bolt EUV. The only comparable vehicle is the Nissan Leaf, which is also, which is going to be discontinued soon. So for this size of a vehicle that fits our needs, I would say $29,523 is a good price.
Okay. No, I don't have a problem. I'm just, the fact that they would not lock in a price, I never seen that. Granted, I'm not a purchaser, but I'm more of a finance person, but I never seen anything like this before. And, but, okay, well, so you say our purchasing department agreed to this, and then you're just the recipient, right?
Well, the purchasing agent looked over, after the price increase, the purchasing agent reviewed our contract and determined that prices were subject to change for this vehicle.
Okay, I'm done.
I just have a quick question. Are these replacing any old vehicles or just strictly new?
Well, historically, parking enforcement used hand-me-down police vehicles. This is our first time in getting a new vehicle for our
Own fleet.
department.
Own fleet for it? Okay.
Yes, our own fleet.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on this item? And just, the purchases were already approved last year. There was just a small
Yeah, I thought so.
$370 per vehicle increase for a total of $1,400 is really what we're talking about, so.
And we're still getting the pricing through the co-op, the best price.
Correct.
We squeezed them on the destination charge, and we don't like this either, but staff, took a look at this. The question of timing, the dealer should have said, hey, the price, there was a $600 increase from the manufacturer, but we're still getting the best price through that Michigan Deal Co-op. And, I think staff did a good job, though, in squeezing them on the destination charge.
Okay, I agree. It's just that wording
Yep.
sort of irks. Okay,
You can talk to GM.
okay, I'll call him tomorrow
All right.
at 9 o'clock. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then Councilman Brightwell, you had a question on the water main installation and repair parts. And our Public Works Director will be happy to answer any questions.
And this question is more of a public service kind of a question. And I talked to Mr. Ryan earlier, and he gave me an answer, but in essence, the question, we have a price not to exceed. Now that, as a budgeting person, that to me, that opens up the door for misuse of those budgeted funds. And because obviously, I've been doing budgets since I was real young, and I knew my bosses always told me, just take it to the max. So Mr. Ryan, he and I talked on the phone, but this is more like a public service announcement here, because historically, I have asked other department heads to answer some of my difficult questions, and I kind of apologize to the department head. These are senior department heads that are no longer here, and I apologize to them because of the difficult questions I might ask every once in a while. And this department head, I still respect. He said, Mr. Brightwell, don't worry about it, because if you're thinking about it, somebody else is thinking about it. So I'm asking Mr. Ryan to answer this question, because this is kind of like a generic question, why we have to not to exceed kind of process here.
And with this, if you notice on the second page, second page of the memo there, or third, it's actually a breakout of the different lots. The question raised by Mr. Brightwell was, does this mean they know that we're guaranteeing them $600,000 worth of purchasing so they can start upping the price on individual items? And it isn't, because each individual item has been quoted out. This only gives us permission to buy up to $600,000 of these individual items. The individual item contract price remain the same and are locked in.
All right, any other questions on this item? Councilman Hicks?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
A couple of questions, and actually to your last point. Core & Main has been a vendor to the city for a few years.
Right.
Part of my question was exactly that point, related to any risk due to the price volatility of the industry. So the prices were, according to my understanding, please correct me, was that it's up to 6 months.
Right.
But this is a 3-year contract. What happens to the lots where items aren't purchased within those 6 months and the price increases?
We would then have to negotiate with Core & Main for the pricing of it. There is, I believe, an escalator clause with a maximum on it that So they don't have, go up by 30, 40%. They have to show that there's a specific reason behind it, industry standards. So it's a two-way street at that point, because we don't want to force somebody to go into bankruptcy just to supply us $600,000 worth of material, but we also want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. So any raise they would have to prove is necessary within the contract details.
Is there anything negative, since we have 10 identified lots, and they've priced out each lot, and they know which materials they'll need? Why not purchase those items within the 6 months to secure the price that's locked in at this time?
A couple of reasons. One, we don't have sufficient storage space to warehouse the equipment. And two is we don't know what equipment, since this is mostly water main and sewer main break, I can't tell you that within 6 months or within 3 years, we're going to need 32 16-inch sleeves or 44 12-inch lugs. This is an as-needed emergency purchase.
That makes sense. One more question.
Sure.
Since they've been a vendor of the city for years, what has their performance been to them coming within budget as they identified?
They have been excellent in comparison to some of our other suppliers. Some of our other suppliers have been very reluctant to sell us stuff, even though it's been on contract, because they're not getting it from the manufacturer. So if they could sell it to X for $200 or sell it to us for $150, we're getting, well, that's going to be 6, 7, 8 months and ahead. Core and Main is, if we got it on the shelf, we'll deliver it to you.
So, final question. As I read through the packet, it said that this is for a 3-year contract.
It's actually for a 1-year contract with 2 1-year options, yes.
Okay, so the contract for the first year expires November 30 of '24. Why are we starting November 14th as versus to 9/30 or 11/30 '23?
Because it's when it was actually opened.
Okay.
We guaranteed that. Plus, it would give us sufficient time in which to then get in case this contract doesn't work out or we have problems, because you don't know if Core and Main is going to be bought out by, Destructo Industries and turn around. It allows the city enough time that we can find a secondary bidder or secondary supplier.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this item? Okay. And then we had questions on the receipt of bids for the standby emergency snow removal. Councilman Hicks?
Yes. Couple of questions. I saw that there was only one person that actually responded to this bid.
Right.
So how long are bids sought and advertised to get more participation in the bid process?
Usually they're let with 3 to 4 weeks as per city charter, and they are placed on the Mitten network. So anybody who is interested in doing work for municipalities usually has to use that network.
Okay. Very familiar with Mitten. What's the annual spend for this type of service annually?
I can say, since I've been here and for a few years before, there's been no money spent. We just haven't had that system. Now, I guess 7 years ago, we had used them when storms, we're just not getting those storms anymore, where, the system sits over the city for 36, 48 hours, and we have to send drivers home due to MDOT and, the driver regulations. We've also been fortunate enough to have sufficient amount of drivers to cover this. So, knocking on wood, we will never have to use that. And that's also one of the reasons why we only have one contractor bidding, because you know, they're rolling the dice that we'll use them. We're rolling the dice we won't have to use them.
Makes sense. Have we ever done business with Austin Logistics?
Yes.
And prior performance has been,
They've been wonderful on the few times we've used them. And they have a good relationship with the city, so that's why they continue to bid.
thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this item? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to Parks and Rec. And Councilman Brightwell, you had a question on their accessories for their mower.
Yes.
Hi, Terry Fields, Parks Recreation Director, and with me is Steve Griffith, who is our Parks Superintendent. And he'll probably be able to answer the questions in a lot more
Right.
detail than myself.
Okay, this is probably a budgeting question, and I'm not sure, have we always used the term not to exceed? And I'm granted, I kind of been away for, during the campaign, but I don't recall seeing this term used that often, not to exceed.
It's used on all of our items.
Okay, so, well, I guess I could take it up with Mr. Austin and Mr. Zorn, but using that term, it seems kind of, I mean, it's just too loose for budgetary purposes. There's room there for the misuse of funds, really, not to exceed. And clearly, when I was doing budgeting, every department, they want to go to the extreme to utilize their budgeting dollars to the extreme. But what is the unknown here? Is it not to exceed? So what is the unknown? Why can't you just give a drop dead price or a drop dead number? When you said not to exceed, that indicates there's some type of unknown.
Did you want me to answer that? For our purposes, it's the cost of the equipment, and we're saying that it's not going to exceed the cost that we're presenting to you. So really, from our perspective, it's more of a commitment to you that we're not going to spend any more money than what we're asking for. So whether it's a mistake in calculations or not, if it is more than what we have asked you for tonight, we would have to come back here and say, you know what? There was a mistake made. We are now asking for $4 more than what you just allowed us to spend. So for our purposes, we're saying to you that we're not going to spend more than what we've asked you for tonight.
Okay, you just answered my question. Why can't we just say this price? And I'll talk to Austin about this, because I'm not, for some reason, I don't know why this now just pops in my mind that I don't like this term, not to exceed, where from a financial standpoint, it just gives me thoughts that you can be less than this number, but I'm gonna max out at this $17,695. Not to exceed gives me.
We can certainly, in the future, the price is, and not use that language.
Okay, yeah, I would appreciate that.
We're not expecting any increase, and the price per in this case, the cooperative is the state contract, My Deal.
Right.
And that is the price.
Okay, well, great. And I will definitely, since I get that answer, there's no need to discuss G, but I would like to discuss H.
Well, if there's any other questions on the accessories for the mowers? Okay, so you can, and are there any questions on item G, the purchase for the mower? Okay. Item H is the purchase of the Gas Ranger picker.
Okay, and this obviously popped up again with the not see, but in addition to that, what type of arrangements will we be making that this one will not be stolen?
So currently right now, it is being locked into the garage area at the heated tees. And it will remain to be locked up in the heated tee garage area until April 1st. After April 1st, it will be locked into the clubhouse area in their garage. We have made room in both garages to accommodate this.
Okay. And when I saw this, is this, who would steal something like this? I mean, is it another golf course or someone?
Some kid, I can't speculate who would do it, but I can assume, and I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
Somebody saw it, they wanted it, they took it.
Okay, okay. All right, well, good. You have plans for the future
Yes.
not to, for it to be stolen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And for the record, it wasn't just a quick snatch and grab. They
No,
broke down
it
a
was
fence
not. They-
to get it.
They blew through a fence to get it,
Yeah, they
so.
hooked up chains to a couple gates, ripped them down. Those have actually been repaired today. So we were not expecting it. Somebody wanted it, and they knew how to take it.
So it's a crime of opportunity, huh?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thank you
Sure.
for indulging me, but this is just, I don't know why, but anyway, I appreciate it, and
Absolutely.
thank you.
All right, any other questions on this item? Any
Mr.
other-
President,
Yes.
if I could just comment, this afternoon, Finance Director and our IT Director and I had a discussion. We'll engage Facilities and Parks and Rec. If you'll recall, 5-6 years ago, we developed security plans for our municipal campus. We'll put together a plan and slowly work it is as budget puts in place. And this was a surprise to the department, the administration, but we can always do better, and we've started that review conversation. And I had the same question: who would steal something like this? It's a unique piece of equipment.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we have consent agenda item A, Oakland County interlocal agreement to amend our gun buyback pilot grant program. Item B, to amend resolution number 2022-342, a price increase for the electric vehicles for parking enforcement. Item C is a resolution for governmental bodies' performance and indemnification for the Michigan Department of Transportation. Item D, the receipt of bids on water main installation and repair parts. Item E, receipt of bids for standby emergency snow removal services for Public Works. Item F, authorization to purchase accessories for the Toro mower for park services for golf maintenance. Item G, authorization to purchase a terrain cut mower 1585 with a commercial side discharge mower deck and heavy-duty rotary broom for Parks and Rec and Park Services. Item H, authorization to purchase a Gas Ranger picker with cab. And item I, to approve the travel reimbursement expense for Mayor Seibert for the MML Fall Conference in Traverse City, Michigan.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of consent agenda items A through I as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve consent agenda items A through I as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we move into the public hearings and site plan. And first up is our PCZR23-0003. A request from Maddox Southfield Properties to conditionally rezone their property from vehicle parking to B3 general business.
Thank you, Council President. There are three parts to this request. I'm going to kind of give an overview of the project as a whole, and then we could move into the public hearings on the individual pieces if that's acceptable, rather than try to represent the same thing three times.
You got it.
All right. As noted, we are looking at the corner of Woodland Drive and Telegraph Road. This is the Matic dealership. They're looking at repurposing the northern portion of the property for an auto wash. This requires a conditional rezoning of the section at the corner, and then requires a special land use approval for the auto wash use, and then a site plan approval for the new redevelopment of the site. Just some quick coverage here. This is the kind of a closer up aerial photo. The area with the red border around it is the area they're going to be redeveloping on the site. So that building and awning there coming down and then there'll be a redevelopment for the auto wash, which we'll see the plan shortly. Just some photos of this existing conditions. You can see the Buick GMC dealership here on the top, and then below, you're over at the corner with Woodland Drive where it's parking at the moment. The future zoning, the zoning and future land use, current zoning is B3 and P. So that part, most of the site is B3, general business. The P, which is parking, is just that portion that kind of sticks out the corner there at Telegraph and Woodland Drive. The entire site has future land use planned for commercial office, which would be consistent with the B3 zoning. This is a conditional rezoning that's before you, so they are excluding some uses. So it would be P, this is just for the part where they're rezoning, from P to B3 with these uses excluded. Private clubs, nursery schools, photographic studios, funeral homes, assembly and concert halls, recreation centers, bowling alleys, skating rinks, etc. Alternative financial services, pawn shops, smoking lounges, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, sexually oriented businesses, cabarets, medical marijuana provisioning centers, and adult use marijuana retailers are all uses that would particularly normally be permitted or special uses in the B3 that will not be available for the portion of the site being rezoned. This is a site plan. As you can see, the car wash kind of goes back deeper into the site where the other building was located for the dealer. The vacuum stations are located at the section up at the corner by Woodland Drive. Color landscape plan, you can see a great deal of landscaping going along the front. They're retaining the trees, and partly because they're existing and they're good trees, but there are also some grade issues between them and the neighboring residences, so that's staying intact. You're not going to disturb that area. This is just a floor plan showing the 2-aisle car wash, and then they have a higher part where they have mechanical equipment for the car wash. Some elevations showing the car wash appearance, and then some very nice renderings that give you a good idea of what it'll look like. This is from Telegraph coming from the south. As you would enter the site, you can see the lane on the right there going toward the back where you would stack to go into the car wash. This is the other corner of the building, kind of from the north, looking from the vacuum area toward the front of the building. This is the back where the cars will stack and go in. There's 4 pay aisles, and then it goes into 2 lanes in the building. And then this is a rendering that shows the vacuum area and the front of the building from that distance. And another shot from the other angle, looking over the site. And we do have the petitioner here as well with their designer, if they'd like to make some comments.
Please just give your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Carl Zimmerman, 14001 Telegraph Road, Southfield Properties, Maddox Southfield Properties.
Peter Pentescu with Studio Detroit Architects, the designer for the team.
Okay, did you want to add anything to what the planners explained?
No, I don't think so. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the opportunity. We're excited to get rid of this obsolete building and present this premium business.
Okay, so we will have a public hearing, and just for explanation for our council and for the audience members, this is a public hearing to conditionally rezone the property from parking to B3. Should that pass, we would then move on to the actual public hearing for the special use request for the car wash, and then the site plan approval from council for the car wash, which is why if the conditional rezoning does not go forward, then the other 2 are moot. So we will start with the public hearing for the, did you want to add something?
Maybe just to clarify if I can, so that with regard to the conditional rezoning, it is parking now. It would continue to be parking. We would just be vacuuming cars where those vehicles are parked at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Crode.
Yeah, I just always have to clarify that all of the potential uses in the zoning district have to be considered, but because this is conditional, there are certain ones that are being excluded. But just because it's being used for parking now doesn't mean that it can't be used for other permitted uses in the future. So we just want to clarify that.
Okay. So we will have a public hearing now for PC ZR23-0003. Is a conditional rezoning request from Maddox Southfield Properties to rezone .9 acres of the property located at 29300 Telegraph Road from vehicle parking to B3 general business. If you'd like to say anything, please come up to the microphone, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Council, any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Taylor.
And I apologize if this was already answered. Is there an entrance or exit to Woodland Drive?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure of.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. That was it.
Council, any other questions? This is for the rezoning.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of PZR 23-0003, which is the request for conditional rezoning as presented here.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Cruz, to approve the conditional rezoning for PCZR 23-0003. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Now we'd ask you to introduce ordinance number 1780, please.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the introduction of ordinance number 1780.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilwoman Hoag, to introduce ordinance number 1780. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we have our public hearing for PSLU 23-0011, which is a special use request of Maddox Southfield Properties for a conveyor-type motor vehicle washing facility at 29300 Telegraph Road. The plans were already explained. Is there anything else to add, Mr. Crode, before we open the public hearing?
Not at this time.
Okay. So we will open the public hearing for PSLU 23-0011 for a special use request for a conveyor-type motor vehicle washing facility at 29300 Telegraph Road. Should you have any comments, you have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing no one come forward, the public hearing is closed. Council, any further questions on this item?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the special use request PSLU 23-0011 by Maddox Southfield Properties to construct a conveyor-type motor vehicle wash at the property 29300 Telegraph Road as approved and discussed. And
Support.
the planner had something else to add.
Yes, 1 minute. It has been moved by Councilwoman Hoag, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve PSLU 23-0011 as presented.
Yeah, you have a list of all the conditions, but I always like to emphasize the hours of operation so you're clear. And the proposed hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that is per our recommended conditions of approval. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
To the petitioner, can anyone that just come off the street and get their car washed here, or is it strictly for dealership washing their inventory or their service, people that the cars they're servicing?
Yes, sir. It is open to the public.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Hoag, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the special use request PSLU 23-0011 with the recommended resolution included that lists a number of items, including the hours of operation. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then the last item for this, or the last part of this item, is a site plan review, PSP 23-0013. It's a site plan review of Maddox Southfield Properties to construct the conveyor-type motor vehicle washing station at 29300 Telegraph Road. Council, it's the last chance to ask any questions. Councilman Hicks.
Yes, so I'm familiar with the type of design this car wash has been on the further down in Telegraph in Redford.
Yes, sir.
What makes us a little bit more unique is that the entryway on that portion of Telegraph, it comes actually off of the service drive into that car wash. This ar wash will be going in from Telegraph. I see that the staging area seems to be pretty long, but are there any risk to having any backup onto Telegraph with this design?
So we do have an entrance from Telegraph as well in Redford. But that said, this is a much longer piece of property to have the staging. And in fact, about 2/3 of the way, not quite halfway past, where you see those trees there, it opens up to 2 lanes. So we go from 1 lane, then to 2 lanes, and as it comes back around, then we have 4 lanes. So there's quite a bit of staging.
Are there any improvements from any lessons learned from the Redford location that are going to be applied here?
What you just asked and what we've put in place absolutely is part of the lessons learned. That is certainly a concern of us. We want to make sure that it's, of course, safe first of all. We want to have great experience for the customers, and certainly we don't want to have anybody have any issues with how we're operating. So, yes, this is the incorporated lessons learned for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sir.
All right, any other questions, council?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of PSP 23-0013, the site plan review for Maddox Southfield Properties LLC as presented here.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve PSP 23-0013, site plan review of Maddox Southfield Properties for the construction of a conveyor-type motor vehicle washing facility at 29300 Telegraph Road as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and welcome to the city. All right, our next public hearing is PSLU 23-0014, special use request of Lael Investments to permit a gas station, convenience store with liquor sales, and a carry-out restaurant on Northwestern Highway and Telegraph Road. I'm sorry, 12 Mile.
Thank you, Council President. This is another project with 2 parts. This is a special land use and site plan. This is for redevelopment of a site at Northwestern and 12 Mile triangular property. There was a version of this approved earlier this year. That project fell through, and one of the property owners here has come back with an alternate design. So I'll be going through that. This is the actual little close-up of the site. You've got 3 buildings on the site. There's 2 parcels. The parcel on the left was a FedEx office building. And on the right, you have a dry cleaner and then a small strip center with, I think, 3 units in it. Here's some photos of the site. You can see the FedEx office building on the upper photo, and the bottom you can see the dry cleaner, kind of behind it, the multi-tenant building, and the FedEx office, back of the FedEx office building. The current zoning is B3 general business, future land use commercial office, so those are consistent. And then the revised site plan. The previous plan, the building was going to be to the far right and the pumps were going to be to the left. In this case, they're keeping the FedEx office building and renovating it. Right now, there's a parking lot that would be toward the corner on the west side of that building. They're eliminating that parking lot and its 2 curb cuts, the one on North Mile and Northwestern and one on to 12 Mile. So there'll be the 2 less curb cuts close to the intersection, and then they'll have the entry on the other side of the building down the road. And on Northwestern, at MDOT's request, they've split the entrance egress into 2 aisles. This should hopefully deter some of the cut-through traffic and some of the more unusual movements you might see on Northwestern otherwise. It definitely, compared to the prior approved site plan, this one actually has better traffic flow and arrangement in the staff's consideration. Landscaping, as you can see there, that whole area up at the corner is going to be green with some trees, and then there's a little kind of whitish square kind of here. That's where their public art piece is supposed to go, because this actually does require a public art, have the public art requirement. So we'll have an art piece and landscaping on that intersection, and then the renovated building and landscaping and gas station operations further in. Just some floor plans. As you can see, they've got the convenience store, the tenant space, which is for a carry-out restaurant, and then they do have a mezzanine area that's existing in the building, which will be some office and storage, and they do have a little covered pergola outdoor seating area on the west side of the building. These are the proposed elevations, quite a transformation from the current look of the building. All four sides are going to get a facelift. And then we do have the petitioner present to answer questions.
All right, so we'll bring up the petitioner. And if you just can give your name and address for the record and add anything you feel we should know.
Good evening, Vincent Oro, 6340 St. James Street, West Bloomfield.
Joe Kane, Fieldstone Architecture, 3400 Auburn Road, Auburn Hills.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything that the planner may have accidentally omitted? Good. Okay, so we'll have a public hearing and see what comes out of that. So again, this is a public hearing for PSLU 23-0014, special use request of Lael Investments to permit a gas station convenience store with liquor sales and a carry-out restaurant at 28830 and 28844 Northwestern Highway. You have 3 minutes, and you can come up to the podium. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Council, do you have any questions? Councilman Cruz?
Yeah, so if I'm trying to visualize this here for me, like, I know where the FedEx is. Are you, did I miss whether or not you were adding property to that or not? Because it seems like that spot is pretty small.
Yeah, there's two existing, or two sites that are being combined into one parcel.
Okay.
Existing 2 tenant buildings on the east side, along with the FedEx building on the west.
Okay.
So the second parcel, the one further in with the dry cleaner on it, the dry cleaner and the small multi-tenant building are demolished. That's where the pump islands of the canopy are going. If you look at the, let me see if I can slip back to an aerial photo, it's a little easier to understand. All right, so this is the site they're adding with the dry cleaner and the multi-tenant. Both of those buildings are being torn down, and that's where your pump islands and pumps are going to be.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they do have to combine the parcels. That's one of the conditions of the approval.
Okay. Then my other question is about the number of gas stations over in that area. Do we have an idea, Terry, maybe?
Yeah, if you may recall, Councilman Cruz, this site was approved for a gas station maybe 6 months ago, and then the deal fell through. So we revisited this site with a new owner-operator, and at that time we had reviewed the number of gas stations. We think this is actually a better layout for circulation. They're able to preserve the FedEx building. They're cutting off the cut-through drive-through. So I know we weren't prepared tonight to talk about the number of gas stations, but we did review that when this was approved for a new gas station a few months ago.
Okay.
And we looked at volumes of traffic in direction. We looked at other gas stations within a 2-mile radius, and the way traffic patterns work. Many people either coming home from work or going to work don't cross over the direction. So we don't think that this is necessarily competing with the southbound gas stations in the area.
All right. And when we had this discussion, so excuse my memory on this, were we talking about alcohol sales and food sales then?
No, because I believe that was just prior to council amending the ordinance approving or allowing for alcohol sales. So they're, I believe, the first one coming in under the new ordinance. And they do meet the requirements.
Okay.
So that's part of why this is a special land use as well, is for the alcohol sales. And they meet all those conditions that council put in to allow for alcohol sales.
All right. I'm not sure about that part yet, but we can move on.
Okay. Councilman Brightwell?
Along the same lines of, so the FedEx building will remain there?
Yes, that is basically the new gas station convenience store is the renovation of the existing FedEx building. And
Okay.
as Mr. Payson has said, to the right of the screen is where the other two retail buildings are. They're going to be demolished.
Right.
And so in its place will be the canopy, the gas pumps, the parking, and the EV charging stations.
Okay. And there's an entryway to this location on the westbound Northwestern, and then the, I guess, southbound 12 mile? I mean,
Well,
westbound
it would
12
be
mile?
eastbound 12 mile.
Eastbound.
Eastbound 12
Eastbound,
mile.
okay, east, yeah,
And
okay.
under the current configuration, there are two additional curb cuts just west of the FedEx building, and people have been using that as a cut-through. Those are both being eliminated. And they're putting some green space. As a matter of fact, they were at the Arts Commission last week and got their proposed art piece that's going to be located in the Triangle approved. So that'll be beautified, and we'll be reducing that cut-through. When I did my site inspection, I must have observed 12 cars trying to cut the light there. That will be reduced significantly by this new configuration.
Yeah, I recall that myself because I've seen people cut through, and I wondered about the accident when something was going to happen. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Council, any other questions? I would just like to, I think my favorite part of the plan is what you just described, is those curb cuts have been taken out right at the intersection of 12 Mile and Northwestern, because those are always an accident waiting to happen. But I do like the plan. I like the fact that it has EV charging stations with a possible room for expansion as more EVs hit the road. So I do like this plan as well, and this corner definitely needs a facelift. So if there's no other questions from council, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of PSLU 23-0014, the special use request of Lel Investments to permit a gas station convenience store with liquor sales and carry-out restaurant uses at 28830 and 28844 Northwestern Highway, as presented here tonight.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve PSLU 23-0014 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion. You opposed? All right, one opposed. Motion carries. All right, next we have E, which is PSP 23-0014. This is a site plan review for this property, which is again a construction of a new gas station, convenience store with liquor sales and carry-out restaurant at 28830 to 28844 Northwestern Highway. Council, any further questions on this item, on the proposal?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move the approval of PSP 23-0014, the site plan review for the site plan review request of Lael Investments as presented.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve PSP 23-0014 as presented here tonight. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed, motion carries. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, next is a public hearing, which is a zoning text amendment, PZTA 23-0005, a zoning ordinance text amendment to amend Article 14 to modify development standards for smoking lounges in the regional shopping and regional center and B3 general business districts. And this is for the following public hearings and site plans. And with that, planners, take it away.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, this amendment, the next project actually could not proceed without this amendment, which is why it's in this order in the agenda. Normally, we put the text amendments at the end, but in this case, it made more sense to do it at this point. Basically, we look at the smoking lounge site development standards. We had a request for a specific property to do a cigar bar, a lounge restaurant combination, and we found that the existing smoking lounge site development standards would have prohibited that location for this use. And we had a look at whether or not we could rectify that. And we did we have a few proposed changes. The first is spacing between smoking lounges, reducing that from a half mile, 2,640 feet, to 1,500 feet. The nearest smoking lounge, actually the only one currently illegally operating, is the Casa de Monte Cristo further down Northwestern Highway. But 1,500 feet is a fairly good separation for any kind of a desire not to have a concentrated group of uses. The second item, number 4 there, was some minimum separation required for 500 feet to any residential zoning district, religious institution, park, child care facility, firearm dealer, or business selling alcohol, and that would not have worked for this proposal on a number of items. There is a residential district that abuts the property to the north and to the east. I think I have a zoning map here that I don't, but where the athletic club is, there's also a licensed preschool at the athletic club next door, which would be a child care facility under our definitions. So instead of making that just property line to property line, which in this case the distance would be 0, we changed it to 200 feet from any residential use, measured from the shortest distance from the exterior of the portion of the structure used for the smoking lounge to the parcel line of the residential use, because what we didn't want to see was an impact on people enjoying their yards around their residences. So that 200-foot separation, given the later requirement for them to have a odor control plan, should be sufficient to prevent that, any kind of a nuisance effect. The second part of number 4 was to provide a 200-foot separation from any outdoor playground, because there is one at the athletic club for the preschool on the north side of the building. It's more about 300 feet away, a little under. And that, we provided that for separation for any playground at a school, child care facility, religious institution, park, or other similar use. Once again, because we didn't want the smoking lounges to have a negative impact on people's enjoyment of outdoor space, particularly a playground. And then on number 5, for outdoor smoking, because the part of the patio will be available for outdoor smoking in the proposed, we made that a 300-foot separation to the residentially used parcel or any outdoor playground to give an extra buffer of distance. The air also does a pretty good job of dispersing that at range. 300 foot is a good example of 300 feet is a typical older subdivision block length is usually about 300 feet. If you look at the more traditional subdivisions on the east side of the city with the smaller lots and blocks, more rectangular blocks, those are typically in the 300 to 400 foot range for length of block. So it's about a city block away. And then on the last number, odor control, there was already language in there about having adequate ventilation and air treatment. We just added the desire, we borrowed this from the marijuana ordinances, about having an odor control plan that you would submit with your permitting that could be evaluated by our mechanical plans examiners and inspectors, just to make sure that we're handling the air and odor correctly and it's being contained to the property and is not allowed to become a nuisance to neighboring properties. We thought these on balance address the interests that were expressed in the ordinance without being quite so restrictive. And they would allow this site that we're going to be talking about next to potentially operate as a smoking lounge as a special land use. This does amend all three areas where this is allowed, the B3, the RC, and the RS district. It remains a special land use in all three, so any smoking lounge would still have to come back to this body for approval for the use at that location. So they do remain a special land use in those three districts. We did provide this map here just to kind of give an idea of the colored areas on this map. The green, the purple, and the red are your B3, RC, and RS districts, where this would be a special land use. Once you take into account the other separations that we talked about, it's a much smaller subset of these properties that would qualify for smoking lounges, which is probably why this would be the second that would be legally operating in the city at this point. And it does require a public hearing because this is a zoning text amendment.
Do you want to ask your question now or wait till after the public hearing?
We can wait.
Okay,
Just point of clarification.
sure.
Didn't you all talk about this a few months ago?
Correct.
What's the difference?
So a few months ago, when the plan came to us to see if that the restaurant wanted to add the smoking lounge, it didn't fit into our zoning. We had to give direction to the planning department to figure out zoning, and then there's a number of steps, including public hearings at the planning commission level, before it comes back to us.
Gotcha.
So this is the final step.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should note this was before the Planning Commission in October. They did send it forward with a favorable recommendation.
Okay. So we will have a public hearing for this zoning text amendment, PZTA 23-0005. If you have any questions, please come up, or comments, come up to the microphone, and you have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record. I need the microphone.
Greg Keeler, resident Southfield. By shortening the distance of the air quality, you are now making it worse for people who are asthmatic, who have breathing issues and everything else. The purpose of this was for it to be a way so you don't have problems with those people. And now by bringing it closer, you're creating somewhat of a problem. And then when you say, you know, you're gonna be on playgrounds and this and that, so where people are gonna be doing exercise, breathing hard, do I really wanna smell smoke or breathe smoke? Would I rather have fresh air? And for those people that are not sensitive to this stuff, okay, yes, it seems like it will be diluted, but for people that are sensitive to it, this will be a problem for. So, because it's shortening the distance, because I did do a thing for kids that were asthmatic in the city of the city of Detroit, I'm going to say no. And plus, my family has breathing issues.
All right, this is a public hearing. If anyone else would like to come and have a question or make a comment. All right, the public hearing is closed. To the city planner, do you want to?
I'll address.
Okay, thank you.
I think several years ago, the rules changed with regard to smoking, smoking lounges and so forth. And I think when they first came out, there was an attempt to throw a indiscriminate number on a separation between these types of uses. During the interim time, there's been a lot of progress made as far as filtration. And we are requiring that odor control plan and filtration as part of any special land use approval. The other thing that we did, we looked at other similar types of separation uses because we want to make sure that we're consistent with what we require other similar types of uses to be. And our standard is always the protection of children and residents at playgrounds, schools, child care facilities, and so forth. So given all of those review items, the special land use, the odor control, and the separation uses, again, 300 feet is equivalent of a football field, that we feel that these are reasonable separation standards, not just for this particular site, but for all future smoking lounges. And we did add an additional 100 feet for outdoor patios. So we are concerned about the health, the safety, and welfare of all our residents and children, but we feel that these standards are reasonable, fair, and they're consistent with other types of separation that we require for other types of uses.
Okay. Councilman Brightwell, you had a question?
I think I see that the Michigan Department of Community Health, they had some input on this. Is there a global, let's say, federal guidelines, EPA guidelines, or Department of Health and Human Services guidelines with respect to this? And is there something about best practice? I'm just trying to see whether there's a global, procedures, process and procedures, or are we just making this up?
We're not just making this up. Again, we always are looking at best practices. We do our research. We consult with the legal department and review other ordinances of similar types of uses. Remember, this is just the zoning layer, so distance separation and permitted uses. The health department and the building department also weigh in with their particular standards. And so there's the International Building Code, and there's the health department that has to sign off on restaurant operations and so forth. So we are one of the safeguards. The first is zoning and zoning separation, but there are other agencies that will have additional review, and they're the ones that you get down to the microcosm as far as particles of air. And yes, the EPA and federal regulations have standards that are safe and not safe. So there's multiple layers of review as far as this goes. Our charge, again, was to review existing regulations to see if they were fair and reasonable, to compare them with other uses, to find a good balance about reasonable use and the protection of, protection of health, safety, and welfare is our fundamental charge here.
Right. Okay, no, and when I use the term making it up, I knew you guys use certain rules and regulations and all those type things, but I wanted to make sure that we are, have legs to stand on if this is ever, anything is ever questioned or if we have to justify anything. So I appreciate your answer, and that's it. Thank you.
Right, Council, any other questions on the zoning text amendment? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of PZTA 23-0005, which is the zoning ordinance text amendment as presented here tonight.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilwoman Banks, to approve PZTA 23-0005, the zoning text amendment as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce ordinance number 1781.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to introduce ordinance number 1781. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now we will move on to the next two items, which again is a public hearing. This is a PSLU 23-0015 special use request of Soroki Architecture representing Baco Ristorante to permit an operation that is a combination of permitted uses, a private club and restaurant, and special uses, smoking lounge and bar/lounge at 29410 Northwestern Highway.
Thank you, Council President. As noted, we are looking at 29410 Northwestern Highway. The property is Zone B3, and they're looking to do a combination of permitted and special uses. Particularly, the special use would be the smoking lounge and the bar lounge. The current zoning is B3. The future land use is also commercial office, so that's consistent. You can see on the current zoning map there, the yellow is the actual adjacent residential I was talking about earlier. Aerial photo of the site, showing the buildings kind of deep on the site with an aisle that goes around, parking in the front, the side, and the rear. Some photos of the site taken a little earlier when it wasn't snowing and there was still leaves entries. From the front here as you go in, and then underneath is the aisle up the side. And then this is the back of the property, the parking lot. You can see the screening wall toward the back, and then a view toward the aisle that goes along the other side of the building. This is a site plan. The yellow is kind of the existing building. Your pink on this is the addition to the building plus the new outdoor patio. They are going to realign that driveway and some of the parking out front and some landscaping as a result of the building addition. The landscape plan, just showing the redone landscaping toward the front of the building with the addition and reconfiguration. First floor plan, the pink is the addition and the outdoor patio. The yellow is the renovated interior of the existing building. Gray is and yellow is the front public areas, and you've got the gray, which is your kitchen and back room areas. Extends over here some private rooms, and then the cigar store is the small one there in the middle, and then the existing tenant spaces toward the back are to remain. There is some partial second floor renovation. Mostly that's office, storage, and mechanical space up there. This is the south portion, and then the north half. Some renderings. We do have the architect here. I'll probably bring him up in a minute. But these are renderings of what the exterior is to look like with the additions and updating of the facades and the new side entrance. And then just the elevations. This is the patio in the front with the fountain. And then there are some interior concepts. Probably I should be good to bring the architect up to kind of explain what's going on in the interiors. I know these are concept drawings and not the final design, but these were shown to us earlier just to give us an idea.
All right, just please give your name and address for the record.
Sure. Good evening. Alex Soroki, Soroki Architecture, 430 North Old Woodward, Birmingham, Michigan. So just to talk a little bit about the interiors here on this slide. The first image is from the entry vestibule as you walk in. There's a small retail area there and a host stand in the middle. The top right image is just another view of that retail display area and entry. The bottom left image is a walk-in humidor, which features trays and cigars on display in boxes. And on the right, you have a view into another walk-in humidor, which features lockers, and then just behind that is a wine cellar. Okay, great. Top left is the lounge. So you could see a large central bar with seating areas around it. And then the image on the top right is the dining room, which features operable window wall to the outdoor dining area. On the bottom left is a view, if you're standing in the front parking lot looking at that outdoor dining area. There's a covered pergola providing shade over that dining, and you can see the fountain. And then on the bottom right is an image of one of the private dining rooms. There's actually 2 different private dining rooms that can be opened to function as one space or separated to accommodate 2 different events. No, I think the planning department did a great job presenting the project. I'll just mention that the area in red is the building addition to the south closest to Northwestern Highway, where Baco's current outdoor dining is. And with the expansion, we're improving the drive aisle circulation at the front of the site. We're introducing a pedestrian pathway, bike racks, and also a substantial landscape plan. Our proposal includes 160 seats indoors and 40 seats outdoors. Baco today has 160 seats indoor and 60 outdoor, so it's actually a little bit smaller in terms of the seating we're proposing. And then if I can just jump back to the exterior. I think this is a good view. The exterior of the building is going to be renovated to feature new spaces and a dramatic entrance. The entrance is enhanced with a modern steel and glass canopy that you can see in that bottom right image. We're using high-quality exterior materials, stucco, Trespa panels, cast stone. We're proposing all new windows and glass, and there's a large skylight over the new dining room, which you can see in the upper left image. Our approach to the massing is more modern. We're keeping the massing low at the front of the site and stepping it up as you move back, with the new entry being the high point. The approach to the exterior is to keep the cigar restaurant and bar more unified rather than the village look that exists today. And I'll just mention that we are introducing a first-class mechanical ventilation system that will exceed typical standards for health and comfort. That's very important to us and ownership, that there's a comfortable experience for everyone, both inside and outside the building. Happy to answer any questions, and we have Luciano here with us, who's the owner and operator of Baco, to answer any questions also.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Just have a couple follow-ups before council asks. Is the outdoor patio going to be 3-season or year-round?
3-season. It's not, we are going to have heaters, electric heaters under the pergola structure, but, in the middle of winter, I think it'll be.
Well, the reason I ask at your current location, we've had holiday lunches there in December, and they put tarps around. They're nicer than tarps, but is there, again, that'll be a building department issue, and I know there's fire suppression, but I just wanted to be clear that that's just a 3-season, you probably have louver roof, that is not intended to be enclosed for 4 seasons.
That's correct. It is a louvered roof that's operable, so it opens and closes, and it's not completely sealed.
Okay. And the second question, because this is a special land use, and I know you were still working on hours of operation, but we need, even if it's the high end and low end, we need to have that as part of the record, your proposed hours of operation.
Sure, no problem. I'll let Luciano talk about exact hours. I think he's better to answer that, but I know the peak demand for the restaurant is the evening time, so 6 to 10 p.m. would be the peak demand.
And again, if you wanted to say to 11 or midnight, Monday through, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we just need, as part of special land use, we always try to lock in the hours of operation. So we'll give you a few minutes to answer that, but I have to advise the council that we want to lock in the hours of operation.
Good evening.
Name and address.
Luciano Del Signore, 29410 Northwestern Highway. I'm the owner-operator of Baco Ristorante and the operator of this proposed facility that we're doing here. Had a wonderful 22-year run here in Southfield. I love doing business in this city, and I want to continue to do business and develop something. I think the hours of operation for this facility will probably be 6 days a week, and I think we will accommodate lunch open from 11 a.m. till midnight, let's say. I don't think we'll be a late night facility, but our peak business will be after business hours. I think it'll be north of 5 p.m. and above will probably be our peak business.
So you're comfortable, through the chair, 11 a.m. to midnight?
Yes.
7 days a week? Even
Yeah.
if you don't open 7 days a week?
Yes.
At least that
Yes.
doesn't lock you in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we have our public hearing?
I don't. I think everything has been spoken about, and I know there's some new commissioners here, but Baco has been it's been a fantastic location for me. We've had a great run there, and due to changing times, so does this property. It needs a little update and a refresh, and I think we've made that location a destination location and brought people not just from Southfield to that area, but also surrounding communities, and even travelers that come to do business in Michigan have been big supporters of our restaurant, and we're going to continue to do that. My intent is to build something bigger and better than it's ever been, and to really make something special for this community. And we're proud to be here, and we hope to be here for another 22 years. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. We will have our public hearing now. This is a public hearing for PSLU 23-0015, a special use request of Soroki Architecture representing Baco Restaurante to permit an operation that is a combination of permitted uses, a private club and restaurant, and special uses, smoking lounge and bar lounge at 29410 Northwestern Highway. If you have any questions or comments, please come to the front and give your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
No, all I was going to say was thank you for answering my questions on air quality, and making us feel a little bit better about how it was being done and all the mechanical and everything that was being looked at, the air quality, as you were shortening the distance. That's all.
All right, the public hearing is closed. Council, any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, I'm definitely 100% for this particular project, and I think Baco is a definitely wonderful location here in Southfield. I know travelers who are actually treated as a destination when they come into the metro area. This question is probably, basically, what is your competition? Do you have another competitor within for this, smoking lounge and bar?
You have some, smoking lounges in metropolitan Detroit that serve food, like Churchill's in Birmingham is the one that I can really think of that has a kitchen. But I think we're going to bring this to a level that's never been seen before, and we're going to try to exceed any expectations of any type of smoking lounge ever was. And the air quality is very important to me, like extremely important, and I want this to be comfortable to people that are non-smokers as well. That's how important it is to me that, dining rooms are going to be spotless. So I think we're going to bring it to a level that there is no competition.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Banks?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for staying in Southfield. I can personally speak for myself and my family. We're looking forward to this new proposal. I think it definitely is going to be a destination location for the city of Southfield. But one question, where the present, see if I say this right, wine bar, that small catering area, there's like 3 rooms, but you can make it
Yes.
one?
Yes.
That's going to disappear and is going to be replaced by?
Well, it's going to be redeveloped, so it's that, if you go back to the renderings, well, you could see it there, actually. Back on the right of that image, there's 2 private dining rooms. We're going to keep the dinings, we're actually making them just a little bit bigger, but those are all private dining right there. And that's right where they exist today. They're just actually being stretched a little bit, but we've been very, very successful with those private dining rooms, and we don't want to lose those. They've been really, really a big, it was probably Baco's biggest improvement in its 22-year history when we put those private dining rooms in. It was I did that in 2007 and purchased the property in 2008. Well, actually simultaneously, both in 2008. And then that was, yeah, we want to keep those. They're going to be right where they are.
Will the wine, will it still look like the wine cellar that it's
No,
presently?
no, the wines are getting moved to a brand-new wine cellar at the front entrance. There's 2 wine cellars, so they're going to be displayed right in that area, both sides of the front entryway. Those are both climate-controlled wine cellars.
I trust it's going to be just as beautiful as it is now.
Yes, they're going to be beautiful.
Thank you.
Great. Councilman Hicks?
Just one quick question, and I'm sorry if I missed this. Will the smoking be limited just to the lounge, or will they be on the patio as well?
It'll be probably on the patio as well. I think our plan is to keep the main dining room as a non-smoking room, but we'll leave it in the lounge, and if somebody has an event in a private room and they want to have smoking there, they can, and patio as well, because we'll have that open air, and it'll be probably the most natural place to do it.
And will the ventilation system be accessible from the patio area?
Yeah, engineering is still, we're working that through right now on the patio if there needs to be any ventilation there. But yeah, we operate Baco right now as a 3-season room. We can heat that patio, and we have beautiful isinglass sides that come down, and there's heaters on that patio the way it exists. And as long as it's north of 25 degrees, I can heat that sufficiently, but when it goes below 25 degrees, it's impossible. It's outside and it's just plastic. So, but yeah, there'll definitely be accommodating for that. Or if, we're serving food out there and the sides are down, maybe that room won't be smoking at that time. We'll, omit it if there isn't proper ventilation there. It'll just be a dining room, and they can smoke in other parts of the facility.
Thank you, sir.
If I can just mention one comment. The outdoor dining area is on the southernmost part of the site, which is furthest away from the residential homes closest to Northwestern Highway.
Thank you. All right, council, any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the approval of PSLU 23-0015, the special use request of Sakori Architecture representing Baco Restaurante, as
Support.
presented.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve PSLU 23-0015 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And then we have our site plan review, PSP 23-0016, of the same property location and that we've just seen. To the planner, to the applicant, any further question, anything further you want to add?
Not this time.
Okay. Council, any questions? Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move that PSP 23-0016, site plan review request of Soroki Architecture representing Baco Restaurante to permit renovation of an existing building for an operation that is a combination of permitted uses and special uses.
Support.
29410 Northwestern Highway.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilwoman Hoag, to approve PSP 23-0016 as presented. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Council President?
Yes.
Point of clarification, who supported that?
Councilwoman Hoag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, our last public hearing of the evening is PSLU 23-0016, a special use request of Tel 9 Plaza to permit occupation of tenant spaces in an existing 5-unit commercial building for use by executive, administrative, and professional offices located at 23935 through 23959 West 9 Mile Road.
Thank you, Council President. As noted, we are looking at an existing small 5-unit commercial center on the south side of 9 Mile, just east of Telegraph, seen in the context photo here of the site. It is currently zoned B3, general business. The future land use is in the technology corridor on Telegraph. It is master plan for commercial office. There we go. Site aerial here, you can see a little bit clearer. You got parking wrapping the building, and then it has access from 9 Mile. There's a gas station between it and Telegraph. Specifically, this came in related to the staffing agency office wanted to go into that central tenant space. General office being a special land use, they decided if they were going to go through this process, they would ask for permission to have general office tenants in the whole building because they have 2 other vacancies that they're looking to fill. Medical office is actually a permitted use, but general office is a special land use. So that is something the Planning Commission has us looking at as a result of this request, whether or not that's the way the ordinance ought to read. We do have a site survey. They're not actually proposing to change the site any, so we allow them to submit a site survey in the aerial as, kind of context for the existing conditions. 5 spaces. The one they're currently interested in is the center, but they do have 2 other vacancies. I think the 2 ends, actually. Some site photos taken of the site. You can see the Jets Pizza, center space there, the computer store. The site is in reasonably good condition. We do have the petitioner here, the owner of the property, to answer any questions, should you have them.
All right, does the petitioner want to address us? Just please give your name and address for the record, and you can add anything that the planner may have accidentally.
Hi, Stephen Band, member, Tel 9 Plaza Associates, the management office, 31,000 Northwestern Highway, Suite 200, Farmington Hills. Owned the property for over 40 years. We look for quality and love the city.
Okay. So we will have a public hearing and see if there's any other questions or comments that come out of that. I will open up the public hearing for PSLU 23-0016, special use request of Tel 9 to permit occupation of tenant spaces in existing 5-unit commercial building for use by executive, administrative, and professional offices. If you'd like to make a comment, please come up. You have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record. All right, public hearing is closed. Council, any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move the approval of PSLU 23-0016, the special use request of Tel 9 Plaza LLC as presented here tonight.
Support. It has been moved by Councilman Taylor, supported by Councilman Cruz, to approve PSLU 23-0016. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I make one statement.
Yes.
I want to thank my wife, who grew up at 25208 Pearson Southfield. She went through school here. She graduated from Southfield High. She worked for Parks and Rec, and today is her birthday. So, thank everybody.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Smart man.
All right. Next, we have a site plan review of PSP 23-0015, a site plan for request from the City of Southfield for the construction of a new storage building at the Department of Public Works Facility 25501 Clara Lane.
Thank you, Council President. I'll be brief. This triangular site is our DPW yard off of the end of Clara Lane along the freeway. That's site on the north side of Clara Lane is actually the county Public Works. Right, that's Oakland County up there. This is in the RC district. We did a code amendment last month to make this a legal use in this location because we discovered that we had a couple of public works facilities here that weren't actually allowed in the RC. So we didn't have a way to approve a new site plan, so this is the follow-on for that. They are looking to put a storage building in the site in that bottom corner of the triangle. It is zoned RC, it's master plan community facilities and other institutions, because we've had a facility there since, we think the late 60s, it looks like. Mid to late 60s is when it was built. The area with the square that says site, that's where they're going to be putting the storage building. They do have to go to the zoning board because of a setback issue, because they're a little close to the property line, but that'll be after this. This is the existing site conditions. They do have sufficient parking with a little bit land banked. Some photos of the site. This is the top there is entry off of the end of Clara Lane, and then the second and the below is actually off that drive going past the animal shelter and into the main facility. That's the round building in the background. We do have a lot of exterior storage on the site, as you would expect in a public works yard. Some of this is actually going to be moved into the storage building, so they don't have to leave it outdoors. This is the corner of the site where they're putting in the storage building. It's going to go next to that, I think it's a salt or sand container there. I know we have Mr. Ryan here from Public Works to answer questions about the property. There's a floor plan showing what sort of equipment and arrangement will be there, and then the building elevations. And I'll let Mr. Ryan answer any further questions.
All right, Council, any questions for Mr. Ryan?
We do not plan to have any smoking lounges here.
Support. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move the approval of PSP 23-0015, the site plan review request of the City of Southfield for construction of a new storage building as presented here tonight.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Taylor, supported by Councilwoman Hoag, to approve PSP 23-0015 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. All right, now we move on to the council portion of our meeting, and we will start with Councilwoman Hoag.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I just had 3 items to mention. One, congratulations to the Southfield Arts and Tech basketball team. As although it was mentioned, the championship just happened yesterday. So although it has reached our social media, we haven't had an opportunity to send anything out. But certainly the city wants to congratulate those students for their D1 state championship ever for the Warriors. And I'm sure we'll have more information to say on that, but again, it just happened yesterday. Also, I wanted to congratulate the Southfield Community Anti-Drug Coalition when they received the Leap Ahead Award from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Good job to that group. And as a reminder, on Tuesday the 5th, we're having our tree lighting ceremony, so I'm looking forward to that, to be there. And that's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, the Oakland County Health Network is offering a veterans workshop on Tuesday, December 10, from 10 to 11 a.m. This is a telephonic call-in session and by video, and they will be discussing all issues that affect veterans in our community. The telephone number for you to call in and to register will be 248-462-6341. And if you want additional info, you can call here at the at City Hall and request a conversation with me, and/or you can call in Mr. Chalker McDonald. He's at 248-764-4443. That's on Tuesday, December 12, from 10 to 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Taylor.
Hi, thank you. Some of what I was going to say has already been stated, but I do want to send a happy birthday out to Motown founder Berry Gordy, who will be 94 years old tomorrow. That's great. I also wanted to mention that Oakland County has authorized $10,000 for December gun buyback, which we'll hear more about from our chief, Elvin Barron, but in partnership with St. David on 12 Mile, where their gun can be turned in. That will happen here in December 9th, I do believe. So just keep your eyes and ears open for more information on that. And that's all I have for now.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. Just a reminder that the Southfield Goodfellows is seeking donations for No Child Without a Christmas Holiday Giving Program. Any monetary donation to purchase food, clothing, and gifts for low-income families and senior citizens that reside in the city and Lathrop Village will be able to participate with this program. If you would like to make a donation, you can submit your funds to the Southfield Human Services Department. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Cruz?
Yep. To anyone who's ever heard many of us talk, a lot of times we talk about this group being a family. And I just want to give a shout out to my colleagues who have been there for me. That's all.
All right, thank you. Councilman Hicks?
Just to piggyback on the achievement that was made yesterday, as a former scholar athlete at Southfield High, we had a representation at Ford Field from players from the 70s, 80s, 90s, as well as current. And the culture and climate that has been set by Coach Aaron Marshall is something to be applauded. I was always taught you can't be what you can't see. And Aaron is a devoted husband, family man, faith-based, and he's instilling all those values in our scholar athletes. And I guess my ask, and I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but I think that those students are deserving of a parade. And I was just wondering if administration can consider having such for those students. When I was in high school here, you can't look at me now, but I was part of a state championship track and field team that we had both in '88 and '89, as well as a debate team. And as you look at other municipalities, when you enter their cities, they boast on that, on their signage. Their signage says, home of the state champion, whatever. Maybe at some point we can think about considering something related to that. Also, day before election, I was asked to speak at Vandenberg Elementary. And what they were going through was having elections for their student council. So part of the questions that they asked me, one of the young students who was running for treasurer, what kind of things should I be studying to help me be a more effective treasurer? Now, these are 4th and 5th graders. So again, you can't be what you can't see. I would love for us to, at some point, consider having a field trip of the student councils of our various schools participate in watching what we do. You know, what better way to teach them about governance and government and what a clerk does, what a treasurer does, what the council does, for them to kind of see us in action and let them ask you all the questions that they grilled me on. So those are the only things that I had on this evening. Thank you.
I'd support that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Ms. Taylor has mentioned in the past about Capital, was it Capital Days?
Yeah.
Where we would actually bring the students here, and we would do different activities and so forth with them. But either way, I would definitely support that as well, because that was a good question. I'm like, dang, I don't know what I would say.
Well, they got me. I had an answer, but.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
And just piggybacking off that, I think I was at Vandenberg the day after you were there.
Okay.
Also talking to, I believe it was 4th and 5th graders, asking me similar questions. Also, president, vice president, public relations. And I did reach out to their teacher to see if we can do something similar to what you're discussing. I'm just waiting to hear back from her as well. So it was definitely a fun experience, and it definitely put me on the spot as well. So it was definitely enlightening, and it was nice to see that the students were engaged and really interested in what positions they were pursuing.
Yes.
Also, Oakland County Parks is partnering with the Southfield Parks and Rec for Beechwoods, and there's currently a survey that they are asking everyone to take to re-envision the 39 acres of land in the southern portion of the Beechwoods Park. That survey is available on the city's website, on the Facebook page for Southfield Parks and Rec, as well as Oakland County Parks. And they're just looking to see what people would like. There's a plan to transform the property of the old golf course area as a nature-centered public park. It's going to be named Southfield Oaks County Park. And they have plans to make it into a public park where people can relax, socialize, be active, and immerse themselves in nature. There is a specific budget, but they are still looking for input from residents into what they would like to see as part of that plan. So feel free to go online and take that survey. Again, it's the Oakland County Parks and Southfield Parks and Rec Beechwoods Re-envisioning Survey. And with that, it is nice to see Councilman Cruz back. We are here for you. And with that, Mr. Mayor.
I wanted to ask the council, and this is following up on Councilman Hicks's suggestion. Mr. Hicks, you may remember that winning track team, we did put up signs, home of Southfield High 2 years in a row, plus the debate team at the same time. So recently we just did this for Lawrence Tech with their 2 winning teams, national championships. We have a history of doing this, so if the council agrees, then we'll ask Public Works to put up a couple of signs. Southfield AT&T, home of the 2023 state championship football team.
Just
question. And then I was going to have to check with the coach, but in the past, we've invited the team in to honor them with a resolution. So if we could do that on the 4th, again, I'd have to check with the Southfield A&T, but have them come in. So either the 4th or, I think we were meeting on
18th.
the 11th? No? No, 18th. Maybe it'd have to be January. But anyhow, we'll get it on the agenda.
Absolutely. Question on the signs, though. I'll take a page out of Councilman Brightwell's book. Who pays for those signs?
We do,
Okay. No problem.
because we're proud.
And we do have a sign shop that can
Our
create
sign
them.
shop makes a
I know in
sign.
the past, when people wanted certain signs, we've gone back and forth on charging them or not charging them.
We have, we've done this many times in the past. It's really about promoting something positive in our community.
Yeah.
So, yes, we've paid for the signs and produced through our sign shop.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
No, that's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. City Administrator?
I
Nope.
do want to mention, thanks to Councilwoman Hoag about the tree lighting, it's also the night that good boys and girls can come and meet Santa. Santa will arrive that night and tell them that they've been good and what they want for Christmas or Hanukkah. So it's more than just lighting the trees.
Right.
There's going to be a number of activities available that evening.
Correct.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr.
I have
Administrator?
no report this evening. Thank you.
Madam Attorney?
Good evening, everyone. I have nothing further to add either. Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk?
Just quickly, I just want to say at the onset of my second week serving as our city clerk, mentioning young people as we have with our winning football team, I'm just so pleased with the young interns, a little bit older than the high school, college students that work for the city and are being exposed to civil service employment. We talk about apprenticeships and all different kinds of training for young people, but to see them learning about civil service employment hands-on while they're in college is really a great thing. And the handshake between older workers like me and young folks who are so computer literate is a great thing. And we have so much to learn from one another, and that's all I had to share tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have nothing to schedule. Any further business to come before the council? This meeting is adjourned.